Good afternoon.
Little ditty.
Well, I know. God bless you. It is good to see that we're amongst some friends here. It is good to be with you. You know, some people, freedom, endowed by our Creator. Freedom is endowed by our Creator, defined by our Constitution, protected each and every day by the men and women who wear the uniform of this great country. And those men and women who fought so hard fought so that everyone, whether they agreed or disagreed with us, could have a voice, but they also expected that people would do it respectfully. And that's why it's such an honor to be with you here today. You know, I was asked many times, not just since the recall election on June 5th, but many times before, how do you and Tonette and your boys, Matt and Alex, deal with all the grief? You just got a little sample of that a second ago, but we had that for about 18 months. I had 1,000 people one night, 1,000 people bust in front of my home in Wauwatosa, not the governor's residence, but the home where my kids still went to school last year, a public school in Wauwatosa, where we live on a busy street in Wauwatosa. They said, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the attacks and the bitterness and all those sorts of things? I said, you know what? For every one of them, there's 9 or 10-fold others that come up to me, not just at political events, not just at rallies, but at factories and farms and small business in my state. And you know what they say? One of the most amazing things to me was, again, not just at those rallies, but at those everyday farms and factories and small businesses in our state, where I'd get someone who'd come right up the line and say, Governor, me and my family, we pray for you. And that made all the difference in the world. And for all of you who did that here, we say thank you. We say thank you. In fact, I remember one day last November where I was out in front of my home in Wauwatosa, and we were literally at a point where we were on a Sunday afternoon. It was after we'd gotten home from church, and the Packers weren't playing until 3:15, which in our state is almost like 2 religious experiences. So it was late in November. I was out raking leaves, and my sons, one of their friends, was out there with us as well, and we're raking leaves. We're on a busy street, and somebody honks the horn, and I turn around to look. You know, we're Midwesterners. We always look to see who's honking, to say hi to our neighbors. Well, this particular guy had rolled down the window, put out his arm, and right as I looked, he flipped me off. And this kid, Gavin, says to me, Mr. Walker, how do you put up with that? And I said, well, Gavin, you know, it's America. People can say and do what they want. You know, that's what's great about the liberties we have here. I said, but it's a little rough, you know, doing it in front of your home. It'd be one thing at the Capitol or the governor's residence or somewhere official, but, you know, I live on a block where there's 2 little girls that live next door, an 80-year-old woman 2 houses down. I said, it's kind of rude to do it in front of there. I said, you know what I do, Gavin? I pray for those folks because I figure there's something more wrong with their life than just whether they agree with my political views, so I'm going to pray with them. And I said, besides, if you're optimistic and you don't respond in kind, something good will always happen. So I went back to rake leaves. And literally not more than a minute or 2 passed, and suddenly I heard a honk again. I thought, oh God, maybe I should have raked at night, right? So I turned and I looked again. Maybe I'm a masochist, but I looked, and now there's not one but two cars honking their horn at me. Rolling the window down, arm comes out. I expect I'm going to get the one-finger salute again. And you know what they said?
Thank you!
Thumbs up. Now, of course, my son's friend said to me, Mr. Walker, did you know that was going to happen? I said, no, but it made my point. And that's what it's all about. You know, we're here this week at a political convention, but it's much bigger than that, because what we're really talking about is indeed about faith and freedom. And it's something that's at stake in our country right now. And we need to make sure we stand up firm on principle. It's something I hope my two sons learned over the last year and a half, is stay true to your principles, but also never let yourself sink to the level of those who seek to attack you. Be decent and courageous and stick to those principles. And that's what we've done. You know, Ralph talked a little bit about our results, but I just want to share with you a couple other things. You know, a year and a half ago when I first took the oath of office on January 3rd of 2011, I raised my hand as the 45th governor of the great state of Wisconsin. And little did I know, but at that point I had moved the swearing in from the East Wing, where there was a bust of La Follette, and I moved it around the corner. Not because of La Follette, maybe a little bit, but around the corner. And I moved it to the wing next door. And the reason I did was simple. That's where the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin stood. And I invoked a part of our Constitution that's never been altered, never been amended. It's called the Frugality Clause. And I referenced in that document what I believe was the proper role of government, not Republican or Democrat, not conservative or liberal or somewhere in between, but the proper role of government in our lives. And I said simply this: moderation and frugality in government leads to freedom and prosperity for our people. Now, little did I know how prophetic that would be over the next year and a half. But that's what this is all about. And the reason I knew we would ultimately prevail on June 5th was the same reason I believe we'll prevail, not just nationally, but in state upon state upon state on November 6th. And it's simple. It's who we are as Americans. It's what we do when times are tough. Last September, I had the chance to go to Philadelphia for the first time in my life. Might seem kind of odd, but I grew up in a small town. My dad was a preacher. We didn't know it at the time, but my brother and I never quite got that till we were older. But we were poor. You know, son of a preacher at a small town, you don't make a whole lot of money. So our idea of a vacation was how far we could get in the station wagon, the GM Impala station wagon we bought used, and go maybe a day or so and then stay overnight at some friend my dad had from another church and then make their way back. So we never got to Washington or Philadelphia or anywhere else out there. So this was the first experience I had to go to Philadelphia. And I don't know, again, as a kid, I grew up loving history. Maybe I'm a little geeky, but I thought of our founders as superheroes. I thought of them as bigger than life. And so when I went to Philadelphia, I went into Independence Hall, and I expected to see where these superheroes were at. And if you've ever been there, you know it's a pretty small place. And it's filled with desks and tables just like the ones we have in our own homes. And it dawned on me, these are ordinary people who did something quite extraordinary. They didn't just risk their political careers. They didn't just risk their business ventures. These were leaders who literally risked their lives for the freedoms we hold dear today. I remember it was Franklin that said, we don't hang together, surely we'll hang separately. Moments like that remind me of this simple truth. What has made America great, what has made this country exceptional, has been that in times of crisis, be it economic or fiscal, be it military or spiritual, what has made America amazing throughout our entire history has been in those moments of crisis. There have been men and women of courage who've been willing to stand up and think more about the future of their children and their grandchildren than they did of their own political futures. Let me leave you with this. Let this be one of those moments. Let this be our time in history. when we can look back and someday tell our children and our grandchildren that we were there, that we didn't sit on the sideline, that we stood up and took action, that we took our country back, that we elected leaders who are going to think about their generation and not just the next election. God bless you. Thank you for coming out, and thank you for what you're doing.